In 2022, the National Parks and Wildlife Service was awarded funding from Saving Our Species to trial the use of conservation detection dogs for Phytophthora cinnamomi. We're working with Tate Animal Training Enterprises and the Royal Botanic Gardens to test Alice and Echo in the field and see if they have what it takes to be National Park's newest bark rangers. Phytophthora really is a bit of a silent killer. It's a pathogen that moves through our soils and it basically impacts or infects plant roots and causes the roots to rot so that you can't uptake water. Once Phytophthora is present at a site, there's no way to eradicate it. This introduced disease kills many native plants and threatens the survival of wildlife dependent on these plants for food and shelter. This includes a number of species declared as assets of intergenerational significance, which gives extra protections to some of our most important areas for threatened species.
Alice is a working line English Springer Spaniel and Echo is a Brittany Spaniel, and they're both breeds of dog that are traditional hunting dogs, which means they have a high desire to use their nose and find things and work close to people.
Across the world, detection dogs are used to sniff out a huge range of things, including drugs, pests, cancer, even water leaks. Over the past 10 years, detection dogs have increasingly been valued for their role in conservation as a low-cost, high-confidence, resource-efficient tool. We chose Barrington Tops as the site for these detection dog trials because Phytophthora was found here in the late 1990s. It's a real concern for the species in this area.
So there's two main species in Barrington Tops that are affected by Phytophthora that we know of, which is an oxalobium, which is a pea, and a heath, which is an epacris. The epacris grows in and around the threatened ecological swamps that are in Barrington Tops. The broadtooth rat is a threatened species we have here in Barrington Tops. They inhabit the swamps up here in Barrington. The epacris is being affected by Phytophthora, therefore that's affecting the habitat and the protection of these rats.
Alice and Echo are checking the environment, checking the plants and checking the soil for any of the signals that would be emitted by Phytopthora cinnamomi. So the way that we're using the dogs to work through the environment here, we believe is really pioneering the way that we're going to be able to map the impact of this pathogen in the soil. The biggest difference between training a dog for Phytophthora versus training them for something like hawkweed or koalas is that the handler is literally running blind the whole time. We can never see it. We never know what's around. We have maybe some vague ideas around what's happening in the environment, but we completely have to trust our dog. We know that dogs can find Phytophthora in concentrations at least as low as 1 part Phytophthora to 200,000 parts of soil. So dogs generally aren't allowed in national parks in New South Wales, and all of our dogs that we bring onto park have to undergo a certain level of temperament testing as well as obedience testing. We need to make sure they don't chase wildlife, they don't bark, they know how to come when they're called, and they're comfortable doing things like wearing special vests or tracking collars. So a lot of time and effort, probably about 12 months worth of training goes into them before we feel like they're ready to step foot into a park.
Conservation detection dogs are really one of the most innovative pieces of technology we have, particularly for conservation and invasive species management at the moment. So we utilise conservation detection dogs across national parks because they're just so good at what they do. They can do it better than we can, cheaper than we can, and we've got a lot of really good safety policies and practices in place as well to make sure that our threatened species are still safe while the dogs are on park. Alice and Echo are our newest bark rangers, part of a bigger force that we have out in national parks, and I'm really happy to have them as our newest staff members. New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service is committed to zero extinctions of plants and animals in our parks and reserves.